Good morning, my people. It is going to be a fun show today. We're going to have a good time with it. We're going to have a good time with it. Y'all have to forgive me. I'm going to sound a little hoarse, a little stuffy. Got some bags under my eyes. It was a long night last night. We had storms rolling through, and I have two of the wimpiest dogs you've ever seen in your life. I got a cattle dog that's she got kicked by a cow, and her right rear leg is just gimp now. She can't run like she used to. She can't, you know what I mean? But storms freak her out. And then we have another dog that rescued us. I'd say we rescued her, but that's not really the truth. She just showed up one day. I was crawling out of my pickup truck, and a cold nose. I was wearing a pair of shorts. It was the middle of summer, and a cold nose went up the back of my shorts and poked me right in the butt. I jumped right back in my pickup truck, turned around, and I see this bag of bones, Goldie mix sitting there. Literally could see her ribs, and she just looked at me like, this is it. This is as far as I get, man. I'm either staying here or I'm dying. One of the two. And she was 27 pounds, full grown, 27 pounds when we took her to the vet that day. And she is 67 pounds now. But yeah, she had had a rough life. We had to nurse her back to health, and she is healthy, but she's skitterish as hell. She's been shot twice. We found out. They did an x-ray on her. She has a bullet in her abdomen and buckshot in one side. Not buckshot, pardon me, birdshot in one side. So loud noises scare the living hell out of her. So when we have a storm, they are like freaking out. They're like, Mom, Dad, what the hell? Why aren't you up? What's going on? I mean, they literally do not. These are the best dogs you've ever seen in your life. They do not touch our furniture. They don't. You cannot make them get up on a piece of furniture. I have put a sheet down on the couch and picked the dog up to put him up there so I could make it easier for me to trim her nails. And as soon as her feet touched that couch, she was right off. Will not get on the furniture. But when a storm comes by, they are all over the bed. Get up, wake up. Oh my God, the world's coming to an end. Can't you hear that? How can you sleep? So we don't sleep. That was my night last night. But it's going to be a fun show. It is. It's going to be a fun show. We got a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. Fill your coffee cups, man. I tell you what, I hope your coffees is helping you as much as mine is helping me this morning. And let's do this. Good morning, y'all. Do me a favor. Go ahead and just hit the thumbs up button now. You know it's going to be a good show. That just gets people invited to the show. Go ahead and hit it now and get it over with so that we can get as many people in the live audience as possible. It always behooves you to get here early. Chat is fantastic. Best audience in the world. We are no longer streaming to XChan. So that is just going to straight up eliminate some trolls right out of the audience, because that's where the majority of our trolls came from, was XChan. We're no longer streaming there anymore, so that you clean that mess up. But get here early and hit that thumbs up button so that we can get as many people invited on YouTube as possible. We've got a lot to talk about. This didn't get into the title or the description. It is some breaking news we had this morning. Scott McAfee has issued his ruling on Fani Willis. And to be honest with you, I am highly pissed off about it. A lot of people are seeing this as a win. I do not. And I'm mad at you folks. I love you folks. I tell you how great you are all the time. This is on you. This is on you. I have been arguing from the get-go. There was nothing wrong with Fani Willis and Nathan Wade having a relationship. There is nothing wrong with that. Prosecutors can do that. Defense attorneys can do that. That's just normal. That's just part of it. Period. But everybody kept saying, oh, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it, but it looks bad. It looks bad. We just don't want to give them anything to talk about. Screw them. Screw them and what they talk about. There's right and there's wrong. So Scott McAfee, the judge in the case, echoed you folks. And it pisses me off. He said the defense attorneys didn't make their case. There was nothing inappropriate or untoward that happened. They didn't make their case, but it looks bad. And he just doesn't want that in his court because it looks bad. So Nathan Wade has to be fired. Nathan Wade has to be taken off the case. The lead prosecutor has to be removed from the case because it looks bad. Can I ask you folks something directly? What looks bad about that? Two grown-ass adults working on the same side, on the same objective, in the prosecutor's office are dating. Someone please tell me, like I'm 5, what looks bad about that. I appreciate y'all. Y'all coming out guns blazing with the support this morning. Thank you. I mean, really. To me, it just seemed racist as hell. It did, because, there was a married couple on the defense team. Yeah, Merchant, they're married on the defense team, but they're white. Nobody said a damn thing because it's not a problem. Oh, so yeah, forgive me for being a little cranky to begin with. It really pissed me off when that ruling came out this morning. There was nothing wrong with Nathan Wade working on that case. He's a damn fine prosecutor. The defense wanted him removed because he's a damn fine prosecutor, and they got what they wanted. Because Scott McAfee's up for re-election. He's a Republican running in a Republican state. He was a clerk for Ken Blackwell. And for the folks that have been around politics for a while, you know who Ken Blackwell. He was appointed by Sonny Perdue, the governor of Georgia, that went on to serve in the Trump administration as ag secretary. I'm really tired of playing their games. I want to play my game. I'm tired of playing their games. The fact that they said, oh, well, they're dating, who cares? It's like Peter Strzok and his relation, the lovers, who cares? Who gives a damn? Yes, that broke FBI policy. You're not supposed to fraternize in the office. You're not supposed to have affairs. That's against FBI rules. Okay, well, that's an HR issue. Has nothing to do with what they're investigating. Quit playing their games. That's my message on that one. I'm pissed off. Fani Willis is still on the case. The case is moving forward. That's good. But I'm pissed off because they're taking Nathan Wade off because the man did nothing wrong. He was an outstanding prosecutor. He was doing an amazing job. That's why they wanted him removed. And we did it for him. We did. Why? Because it looked bad. It just looks bad. Nobody can tell me what looked bad, but apparently it looked bad. Rant over. Sorry. Don't mean to come out negative from the get-go, but that's just breaking news we had. Expect the Fani Wade ruling to stall the main process. Actually, I don't think it will. I think they will bring somebody in a week or two at the most, just to get somebody up to speed. Nathan Wade is really good at his job, and part of being good at your job is being prepared. If you're in a car wreck, if you are, something happens to you, you have an unexplained heart attack, and anything like that. Part of being good at your job is redundancy and being prepared for somebody to step into your shoes. Oh, so that was that. We have an election this year in Ohio. You folks know Sherrod Brown. Sherrod Brown's a fun guy to talk to, by the way. He's a good guy. He really is. His voice is horrible, but he's in direct competition with Rand Paul for the worst hair in the Senate. But he's a good guy. He's a good guy. He's up for re-election this year. And you guys are going to love this. We're going to go 100%. You're going to have a good laugh here. Rand Paul has got some competition. There's a couple of Republicans fighting it out to run against him. And there is one in particular that Trump loves, and the Republican Party has coalesced around. Why? Because Trump loves him. Trump loves him. It's a guy by the name of Bernie Marino. Now, Bernie Marino, Trump loves him for a reason, because Bernie Marino was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. His daddy was a surgeon in Colombia back in the early 80s. And if you're my age and you know about Colombia in the 80s, it was a good time to leave Colombia. But they were very wealthy people. They had 5 homes. Thanks, dude, from SoCal. I appreciate you, man. You're always here. I appreciate the support, my man. Sherry Foster says, guess all these people are only allowed to eat, sleep, and work. That's it. Nothing else. Sheesh. Yeah, exactly. I'm still waiting for somebody to tell me what was wrong with Nathan Wade and Fani Willis's relationship. But back to what we're talking about with Bernie. Bernie Marino's, when he was about 6 years old, his family picked up and moved to Florida. And I mean, he was born with a silver fork. He had staff. I mean, he had people waiting on him literally. And they moved to Florida. They just packed it up and said, look, we're not going to, I'm sorry, but this is a bad time to be here in Colombia. You know what happened in Colombia in the 80s. I don't have to go through all that. Pablo Escobar and all that other good stuff. They said, look, we're out. And his daddy traded it all in to move to Florida. And they took a hit. They took a hit on the chin. They really did. Immigrating was not easy for them. He became a surgical assistant until he could get his medical license here, which is still not a bad living, but it was a step down for them. They were wealthy. And then he went on to do well for himself. That's the environment Bernie Marino came up in. He was educated. He was wealthy. And he went on to become a car tycoon in Ohio. His family ended up moving to Ohio. He opened up car dealerships. And he made a fortune, and it moved into high-end car. We're talking about he sold Rolls Royces. He sold little British cars, Lotuses. He sold Lotuses, just real high-end stuff. He had boutique car dealerships, and he made a lot of money. He really did. But he's not a really well-liked guy in most of the country. They love him in the Republican Party because, like everyone else that's running for office, he has to be the extreme. I mean, he is so extreme. I mean, he makes the list. If you take a look at like his anti-LGBTQ rhetoric is so extreme that LGBTQ advocacy groups actually mention he's not even a senator, but they talk about him and his rhetoric and the things that he's come out against. He's so radically anti-gay. If you see, you come down on the list here, Kerry Lake, Mark Lamb, Rick Scott, Jim Merchant, and then you get here to Bernie Marino. And they talk about him coming out and arguing against any kind of rights for gay people. He's just everything you would expect in MAGA. I mean, he just is. So Donald Trump loves him. I mean, what's not to love for Donald Trump? Rich brat, came in on his daddy's coattails, became a car salesman. You know, I mean, that kind of guy. And then he went, when he decided to run for Senate, he decided, you know, that car salesman thing's not a good look. So he sold all his car dealerships for hundreds of millions of dollars. Sold them all and got into blockchain. Yeah, the highly reputable field of blockchain. I mean, it's just one thing from another to another with this guy. So Trump loves him, just absolutely loves him. And here he is at a MAGA rally. You can see the Trump hat down there he's got, and you know, it's just this is old Bernie Marino. And the party's all in, and Trump is having a rally for him tomorrow. And it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. See, Mike DeWine has been avoiding Trump like the plague. He has. He's been avoiding Trump like the plague. He has. It literally pretended to have the plague one time not to see him. Last time he was supposed to do a deal with Trump, DeWine said he got COVID. He never showed any symptoms, never showed any signs, didn't really look like he had COVID, but hey, he said he had COVID, so he didn't have to meet with Trump. Oh, man. But they're getting together this weekend for Bernie Marino. They really want to take a shot at Sherrod Brown. They think they got a chance. And, man, you're going to have Donald Trump and Bernie Marino and Mike DeWine at a rally tomorrow in Ohio. And, man, it is a big freaking deal right in time for this news to break. Politics is war, people. Politics is war. GOP-backed, Trump-backed Senate candidate faces GOP worries that he could be linked to adult website profile. Okay. Okay. That's not a big deal. Oh, wait a minute. He signed up on that adult FriendFinder website for men for one-on-one sex. Okay. Okay. Mr. Anti-LGBTQ plus has an account, apparently has an account on Adult FriendFinder for men for one-on-one sex. The comment on there says, "Hi, looking for young guys to have fun with while traveling." Okay, I don't care. I really don't care. I mean, if he's gay or not, I hate the hypocrisy of it blows. You know, Mr. Anti-LGBTQ plus all of a sudden has an adult FriendFinder site tied to his work email. And this is the beautiful part. He has an excuse. Wasn't me. He says it's a guy by the name of Dan Ricci. He was an intern that worked at his car dealership, that answered his emails, that thought it would be a funny joke to sign up the owner of the dealership on a dating site as a gay man. Does that ring true to you? I mean, you're serving as an intern at a car dealership, a boutique car dealership, and you're going to sign up the owner on his personal, his work email address. You're going to sign up the owner requesting sexual relations with gay men. Yeah, I don't, that doesn't ring true to me either. But, let's just look at the big picture. Dan Ricci is a contributor, and I mean a good contributor to Marino's campaigns. He's donated about $6,500 twice. I don't know about you. How many of you, just a little census in the audience there, how many of you have enough bank to write somebody a $6,500 check, not once, but twice? Almost $13,000 he's written in checks to Bernie Marino in his campaign. Apparently the internship worked out pretty well. I mean, how many of you have that much money? Well, this is the guy falling on his sword saying, oh, yeah, I did that. It was me. It was a joke. I just meant it as a joke. I don't, none of it passes the smell test for me, especially when you consider the hypocrisy gets much, much worse. Dan Marino hasn't always been, Bernie Marino hasn't always been anti-LGBTQ. Plus, he hasn't. In fact, he was quite the advocate for the LGBTQ plus community. He spoke out. I mean, despite the fact that he had, businesses that required him to have relationships with the community, he was very vocal in this support of LGBTQ plus community, the LGBTQ plus community. He was. I mean, kudos to him. He did. Let me give you an idea how far it went. His dealerships sponsored the gay games. And I know you folks are saying, what the hell are the gay games? Think the Olympics for gay people. It's a thing. We have gay people in our audience. Just ask them about it. They know about it. It's the gay games. His dealerships sponsored the gay games before he ran for office as a Republican. And if you want to know, I mean, if you don't know what the gay games are, just think the Olympics, but much more fabulous. Just much more fabulous. I am telling you, folks, you need gay people in your life. You really do. You really need gay people in your life. If you don't have gay friends, find some. They just make everything better. They do. I mean, and I'm not being the slightest bit facetious when I say that. I mean, just look at these guys. They're having gay people make everything better. They do. I mean, restaurants, fashion, everything. I mean, I'm telling you, you need gay friends. I mean, compare that to your MAGA relatives. Your MAGA relatives, pissed off, angry, miserable. Versus your gay friends who are just really fabulous. You need gay people in your life. You really do. And that's the worst part about this whole Bernie Marino thing is the hypocrisy, the sheer hypocrisy of it. I mean, this guy goes from living his best life. He's got car dealerships. He's had a charmed life his entire life. I get the feeling he is gay. I can't tell you if the man is gay or not. I can't tell you 100%. The smell test tells me the man's gay. And he's living his best life. And then he decides to run for office as a Republican. And what comes into his life? Hate. Because, man, Republican voters are bigots. They are bigots. And if you're going to run as a Republican, you got to be a bigot, man. You got to. You got to show some of that Jesus hate. You just do. So, yeah, folks, I just need you to know in every race, this is what we're looking at. The Republicans are hypocrites. They are. Bonnie Willis, there's nothing wrong with that relationship. Nothing at all. But they're hypocrites. Got a married couple on the defense, and who cares, right? Just rules for you, not for me. Then we've got old Bernie, who's going to be at a Trump rally this weekend, spewing anti-LGBTQ plus hate. When I would bet my bottom dollar he's gay. He is. I would bet my bottom dollar he's gay. Don't know, but that's what it looks like to me. Self-loathing, self-hate. And it's a story we've heard before. But yeah, it just, it's what Republicans are. It's what they are. In their churches, in their lives, they're just rolling hate. And it's so bad, they don't even want to be around each other. This, my friends, this is the Greenbrier. And you are such well-versed people. I bet a lot of y'all actually know the significance of the Greenbrier. It's a beautiful resort, isn't it? It's in West Virginia. See, the Greenbrier had a secret. The United States government spent an absolute fortune building nuclear resistant bomb shelters underneath the Greenbrier. This was the evacuation point for our legislature. Should, in the event of nuclear war, they were to be brought here. And there really is an entire shelter underneath this beautiful, and it is beautiful. It really is. Mr. Knudsen joins us. He says, there's nothing more annoying than people who can't see the difference between opinions and facts. Most MAGA people are lacking in the brain department, lead in the water or lead in the water or something. Can't read this morning. Can't see this morning. Very tired eyes. Sorry about that, Mr. Knudsen. Good comment. But yeah, the Greenbrier here is where the Republicans decided to hold their retreat this year, where they get together and talk to each other and talk about policy and all this other good stuff. And when I say this place was a bomb shelter, I'm not even kidding. I mean, it was hidden in plain sight. There was a cantilevered wall that covered all this up that you could walk up, pop the lock on the bottom of it and pull it out. The thing weighed tons and would slide, would swing out of the way. And it opened up to this vault door here. And it's now useless, by the way. It's now a tourist attraction because loose lips sink ships. And somebody talked about it and shared this secret. So all the money, which equates to, about $1 billion today, was wasted. Because if they know where the target is, they can target it enough that, I don't care how strong you build something, unless it's built inside a mountain somewhere, you're gonna be able to defeat it. So yeah, we lost that facility over somebody running their mouth, but it's really fascinating to see. And the Republicans decided, hey, this beautiful resort is where we need to hold our retreat. But the problem is, most of them didn't want to go. They're so sick of each other that most of them didn't want to show up. Had over 100 of them said, look, I'm going to go spend time with my family. I'm not doing this. They repeatedly talked about how stressful things are in Congress, how miserable it is. You've got Ken Buck retiring, who's just letting it all fly. He's saying that, according to Ken Buck, there may be as many as 5 more retirements in the coming weeks because people have just had enough. They're tired of this. And these Republicans, these factions, hate each other. That's the clown show that is half our government right now. Trina Laga says, I do not understand. If you're angry and full of hate, you have a lousy life. Who wants that? Exactly. One second. Looks like we got a troll in the chat. Time to go troll hunting. But it is much better in chat, not streaming at X-Chan, isn't it? Well, we have some other news that have broken, and it's time for Merrick Garland to go. It is time for Merrick Garland to go. This discussion is over. Apparently, the White House has become irate with him. The Southern District of New York just screwed Alvin Bragg. Alvin Bragg has agreed to a 30-day delay in his prosecution of Trump. That was supposed to come, that's supposed to come up in a few days. Trump's criminal trial in Manhattan is supposed to start. Well, no, they're going to put it off for a month because of the Southern District of New York. Under Construction says, I had a philosophy of I'll believe in your gods if you believe in mine. Then I saw my first golden Trump statue. Yeah, tell me about it, brother. Tell me about it. The hypocrisy is large within the Republican community. Yeah, the Alvin Bragg trial, back to what we're talking about there, the Alvin Bragg trial has been delayed. We've had a problem in New York. We had, their top FBI agent up there has been convicted twice of taking money and jobs from Russians and Eastern Europeans with fealty to Putin. The New York field office was known as Trump land. The whole James Comey thing, his justification was, well, it was going to leak anyways. So I just wanted to get ahead of it, was because of Trump land. Because they were actively just dumping stuff to Rudy Giuliani. That whole area needs a douche. That whole area needs a douche, starting at the top with Merrick Garland. Because what the Southern District of New York did was they refused to comply. ET says, how young of young men is he looking for? And say, man, I don't know. This is just breaking. I am sure people are going to come out to talk about old Bernie Marino and relationships they had with him. This is just coming out. So yeah, there's going to be a lot more. We'll end up talking about it more. But yeah, Alvin Bragg was looking for information from the Southern District of New York. They would not comply. They would not give him what he asked for a year. They said no. So he built his case without their information. He said, I got my case put together. I don't need you. Screw you. I'm done. So days before the trial, what did they do? They dumped the information that he's been looking for. Just dumped it on his office. Well, now it's got to be part of discovery. And the Trump team, of course, said, whoa, wait a minute. You have information we're not privy to. We're going to need a delay. And before they could file a motion, Alvin Bragg went to the judge and said, yes, let's have a 30-day delay. Because they were going to win anyways. They were going to win that argument anyways. They were going to get a delay from the judge. But here's the DOJ and the Southern District of New York coming in and screwing us again. And I'm tired of it. I am tired of it. You know, Republicans cannot be part of the law. They just can't. They have shown themselves exactly, Sarah's, well, enough is enough. Everything, Scott McAfee down there with Fonnie Willis. Well, you didn't prove there was anything wrong or untoward going on, but I just don't like the way it looks. I just don't like the way it looks. That's not the law, man. They didn't prove their case. They didn't prove their argument. But that's Republicans, man. Republicans cannot be part and parcel to the law. They can't be legislators. Look at what they do. You know, they're trying to force the sale of TikTok, and then we turn around and find out old Steve Mnuchin and a bunch of Trumpers are trying to buy TikTok. You know, everything they do in relation to the law is crooked at every level. From president, I mean, Trump was the most corrupt president we have ever had. Look at what they do in the legislature. Nothing for the people. And if they do pass something, it's some BS boondoggle like we have Greg Abbott down here in Texas wasting billions of dollars on what is nothing more than a Republican re-election gamble. Down here with the border. That's all it is. Just wasting. Republicans cannot be judges. They cannot be prosecutors. They cannot be special. Look at Robert Hur. Look at Ken Starr. Every time it's dirty. It's always dirty. And the latest is with Alvin Bragg. You've got Donald Trump that's about to be prosecuted in an open and shut documents case. This is not eyewitness testimony. I saw it happen. This is open up the books, point to the numbers, and I rest my case. That's it. I mean, this is a quick case. And then here comes, the damn Southern District of New York dropping a turd in a poop. And I'm tired of it. We need to douche the DOJ. Christopher Wray at the FBI has to go. Merrick Garland has to go. We need to go through the AUSAs, the U.S. attorney's offices, and we need to purge Republicans. No more. We're on the high road, and can't we all just get along? No, we can't. We can't. They've proven that over and over. They've proven that. So we've got a couple quick things that are happening. Ken Buck, like I said, retired. He has totally screwed Bobo. Bobo's just in a mess right now because, this $174,000 a year job with benefits is the most money she's ever made in her life. And Ken Buck moving up his retirement has really put her butt in a sling, because to run in the special election, which his early retirement triggers, there will be a special election in Colorado. She would have to resign her position in the 3rd district to gamble running in the 4th. Now, if she just goes through the primary election and all that, she doesn't have to do that. But for the special election, she would have to resign her position, and she cannot give up that paycheck. She just can't. It's the most money she's ever made in her life. So she's not going to run in the special election. She announced yesterday that she's going to stay in the primary. Now, imagine you're a Republican voter, and you're going to walk in on June 25th, the same day as your primary, and there's a special election line for the congressman for the 4th district, and then there's a primary for the 4th district. Are you going to split your vote? Are you going to split your vote? No, you're not going to vote Bobo in the primary and then somebody else in the special election. You're just going to vote for the same person if you're a dyed-in-the-wool Republican. And I have to tell you, Republican voters have had enough of this nonsense. They really have. There are a lot. Even Frank Luntz, who is constantly on the attack for Republicans, has been sounding the alarm. We got a lot of people that ain't going to vote for us. We got a lot of people that just will not vote for Trump. They're just not going to. They're tired of this. And then that's what Colorado serves up for them. More craziness. And then Ken Buck sent shockwaves through the Republicans yesterday when he said flat out, look, I talked to these people. You've got about 5 more retirements coming your way in the coming weeks. People have had enough. Then the Republicans don't show up at the retreat. And you've got Preacher Johnson, who is just a disaster. Yeah, good times for the Republicans, folks. Good times. Hope your coffee's as good as mine, by the way. Thanks for the support, Keith Beal. I really appreciate you, man. It lets me do this full time. We got another great story. Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden has come out and said, I don't think I'm going to do any more hearings with you until, the Republicans invited him to do another hearing, this time in public, because they thought they were going to judo him because he said, they were going to use his own leverage against him because he said, look, I won't testify unless it's in public. And then he went ahead and testified in private like they demanded. So they wanted to take another bite at the apple because they got humiliated so badly in the last one. They're like, we got to fix this, man. Even Republicans are saying the whole impeachment thing is gone like a fart in a hurricane. It's just gone, gone, gone. Republicans are saying that, not just me. Republicans are saying that. So Hunter Biden came out and said, no, we will not be having a hearing, public or otherwise, until you look at the Trump kids. When you look at the Trump kids, you look at Jared Kushner, you look at Ivanka Trump, you look at Don Jr., you look at the Trump kids, I'll come testify. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Way to go, Hunter Biden. Way to go, Hunter Biden. And I love it. I absolutely love it. People have been running away from Hunter Biden. I've been telling people from the beginning, do not run away from Hunter Biden. Run to Hunter Biden. He is good at this. But that's our domestic news, folks. We're going to go to some international news. We're going to talk a little bit more about Ukraine. There has been quite the dust up in Ukraine. Emmanuel Macron came out and said flat out, if the Russians move eastward towards Kyiv or Odessa, France is in the war. Made no bones about it. He said, we're sending troops in. If the front lines move towards Odessa or Kyiv, we're in. And everybody in Europe and in Russia went, So Putin responded, and get this, in his State of the Nation address. Could you imagine an American president saying something like this in the State of the Nation address? Putin tells his country in the State of the Nation address, if Western forces move within striking distance of our territory, not even invades Russia, just within striking distance of our territory, we're going to use nuclear weapons. We're going to attack you with nuclear weapons. And of course, you had all the nutty right-wing social media people. Oh my God, they're going to start nuclear war. They're tempting Putin. They're tempting Putin. Oh my God, he's going to attack us with nuclear weapons. Admiral Newton here says, but Hunter's laptop. I know, man. Way to go, Hunter. Way to go, Hunter. Lisa McMahon, absolutely. Ukraine is not Russia. I love what Zelensky says over and over and over again. When they ask him about negotiations for peace, he says, I've got a peace plan. Get the fuck out of my country. So Putin threatens nuclear war. And the whole world, and especially the right-wingers, are like, oh my God, we've got to be scared. Here comes Putin. Macron gave a television interview that was meant to clarify his remarks. And the right-wingers are like, he's scared. And in his interview, Macron looked at the camera and said, did I stutter? What part did you not understand? I am the president of France. I decide where French troops go and when. And I'm done negotiating with Putin. And everybody went, ooh. I mean, it was great. It was great. And then he went even further. They put in their parliament a mutual security pact with Ukraine for the next 10 years and said, we're going to give them $3 billion in aid, including a dozen of these bad boys right here. You're going to love these. The Caesar Mark III artillery system. We're going to give them a dozen of those. 40-mile range, baby. Accurate, can hit a flea on the fly. Some of the best artillery, 155 millimeter howitzers. Some of the best artillery in the world. You know, I want to pause right there for a second. I want to explain just how bad Republicans are, because this is what we're going to talk about, the nonsense that's going on with Republicans and why it's such a problem. Russia is, the Caesar's badass. Neurogeezer says, rapid fire. Absolutely it is. Very fast at sending shells downrange. Very accurate. Mr. Newton says, I wonder how well maintained Russia's nukes are. Yeah, they aren't. It was such a hollow threat. Macron came out and just really nailed it in this interview. But before we continue on with what we're talking about with Macron, I need you to be aware of something and how bad our Republican interference is, what it's doing. Russia is fighting with one type of weapon: Russian weapons. The ammunition, maintenance, everything is all the same. Their planes are Russian, their tanks are Russian, their artillery is Russian. They all use the same ammunition. The logistics behind supporting them, far easier, far easier. Daniel Steen, Australians stand with democracy in the Western world. Amen, brother. I'm glad. Danielle Steen, I'm glad you're here, ma'am. I'm glad you're here. Glad to have somebody from Australia here. We've got people from all over Europe and Africa. It's glad to see some folks here from Australia. Welcome. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Well, what I was saying is the Ukrainians, not so much. Not so much. The Ukrainians have artillery systems from us. They have artillery systems from France. They have good, don't get me wrong, they're good. Artillery systems from Germany. They've got Leopard tanks, a couple different Leopard 1s and Leopard 2s. They've got Abrams tanks. They've got Israeli tanks. They've got, Linda Thalman says, France will not let Russia win. We support Ukraine overwhelmingly. Man, I hope, are you from France? Tell me, are you from France? Because I love to identify folks in the audience that are part of our European audience. But yeah, no, I agree with you. We're going there. We're going there. But I want to talk about this. I really want to make this point. The Ukrainians, their aircraft, their everything from their reconstituted Air Force, they've got RAF planes, they've got F-16s coming in. Their artillery are from 5 different nations. It's just the logistics behind their fighting. They've got AK-47s and M4s, M4 rifles, just even their troop rifles. You know, I was watching the footage from the Freedom for Russia Legion that has invaded Russia. They were fighting with M4s and driving Russian tanks. The logistics is a nightmare, but it doesn't have to be. If we were in this to win it and doing our job like we should, we could coordinate. We wouldn't need Poland sending their equipment and everybody just dumping their equipment from different equipment from different manufacturers from different countries, trying to take up the slack for what we're not doing. If we were in it to win it, we could just say, hey, send us cash. We'll send American systems, all one system. But the Ukrainians don't have that because Republicans here. Because of Republicans here. And their fealty for Putin. And I'm about to explain to you just how bad that is. Vive la France. Absolutely. Because this is what's going on in France. You see, Macron has opposition in France. And it's stiff opposition. This is Gabriel Attal. He's the prime minister of France. He and Macron get along. But this is Gabriel Attal. You know what he's saying here? He's talking about Marine Le Pen. This is yesterday. He was addressing the French Parliament. And what he's saying here and he's pointing at Marine Le Pen, and he is saying Putin already has troops in France. They're right there. And called out Marine Le Pen right there on the floor of their parliament. And boy, howdy, it worked. It worked. For the first time ever, Marine Le Pen came out and criticized Vladimir Putin. And her party did not vote against the bilateral security agreement between France and Ukraine. She has been nuzzling Putin's taint so hard it was impossible to see where Putin's ass and her face began for the last 2 to 3 years. Putin has openly supported her attempts to unseat Macron. And she came out yesterday anti-Russian for the first time ever. Folks, our Republicans cannot break their fealty to Trump. They can't break their fealty to Putin. They just can't. They're on Russia's side. And as long as they have control of the House, they're going to do everything they can to try to screw Ukraine. And Joe Biden's going to do everything he has to do to support Ukraine. But the French, we're not a nation if it wasn't for the French. A lot of people slept through history class. You may not know this. But if it was not for the French, we lose the revolution. Our revolution. That's not up for debate. That's just a fact. The British, Cornwallis and the British, they had us beat. And it was the French that saved us. It was the French that saved us. And the French are stepping up now in Ukraine. They are freaking the Germans out because the Germans are the coldest rod in the fire. With everything that's going on in Ukraine, the Germans are like, no, we don't want war, negotiate, no war, negotiate, no war, negotiate. Poland is on the other end of the spectrum. They are white hot. Poland's like, let me at him, let me at him. Do you know why Canada and Poland, just Canada? Do you know why Canada doesn't have nuclear weapons? Because they have Canadians. I have to tell you, you do not ever want to go to war with Canada or Poland, either one. We have the Geneva Conventions. They have the Geneva checklist. These Geneva Conventions have a sentence at the end of them that says, that means you, Canada and Poland, because a lot of these rules were written for Canada and Poland. These guys are the hottest of the hot. They really are. The Polish are. The Canadians are middle of the road right now on Ukraine. They're like, we need to support Ukraine. We're 100% behind Ukraine. But the Polish are like, let me at them. Let me at them. And then you have France, which has openly come out and said, look, Macron said, Russia cannot win. Period. Russia cannot win. Ukraine must win. Enough is enough. Because if Russia wins, this is what the case he made to his people yesterday. If Russia wins, life in France changes. There is no longer peace and security in Europe. It's over. Yeah, I agree with you, iGolf J Tweeter. Poles are good people. They are. They are. And they get a bad rap, too. They really do, because they didn't do so well in the Second World War against Germany. They were fighting the Luftwaffe with biplanes. They were literally flying World War I biplanes against the Luftwaffe. But they fought, man. They fought for every inch, man. The Polish have a history of being amazing warriors all throughout history. They're amazing people. But yeah, it's just been really nice to see some real world leadership happening with Macron and Gabriel Attal. It just really has been nice to see. To see things being called out the way they should be. How nice would it be to see Democrats here in the United States calling out Republicans and saying, Putin's troops are already here. Enough is enough, folks. Enough is enough. But yeah, that's what we have to talk. I have for you today, folks. That's what I wanted to talk to you about today. And I want to wrap it up with this. This is Transnistria. This is Transnistria. We're going to take a look at a couple maps real quick. Peter Campbell says, just as it was regarding World War II, the support we are lending to Ukraine will be repaid with interest. Also, the money goes to the U.S. companies to build them. Slava Ukraini. Absolutely. We're not sending pallets of cash to Ukraine. We're paying Americans at American jobs to make American military equipment to send to Ukraine. That's where the money's going. This is Transnistria, this region right here in red. When Vladimir Putin moved into Ukraine, he used a formula. It was the same formula that Adolf Hitler used when he took the Sudetenland. He came out and said, these are our people. These are ethnic Russians. Same argument he made about Crimea, same argument he made about the Donbass. It's just that argument. These are our people. Then he said, they're under threat. Well, folks, we know Ukraine was not where he was intending. This was not the end game for him. Ukraine was not the end game for him. It was the beginning. He thought he was going to meet a government in Ukraine that would collapse. He never expected Zelensky to stand up to him. He just didn't. And the plan wasn't to stop in Ukraine, because he had already started the next steps here in Moldova. He planned to roll all the way through Ukraine here and then down into Moldova. And let me tell you, some of the things they've been doing is they have just started to pretend that Transnistria, this region of Moldova, along the Ukrainian border, that's ethnically Russian, it's just Russia. So much so that they just for their elections this coming up in a few days, set up polling places, Russian government polling places, as though the Russian government runs things there. The ambassador for Russia had to be called in by the president of Moldova and told, hey, what the hell are you doing? And the Russians just said, we own this now. This is ours. You don't know it yet, but this is ours. It's me says, do you think Putin has a hand in Haiti? I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't want to say yes. I don't want to be, just a Putin scaredy cat that says everything that's bad is Putin. But I do know that they are in Mexico City, that the Russians run out of their embassy, all kinds. When there are problems in the Western Hemisphere, a lot of it originates in the Russian embassy in Mexico City. I know that. And that's all I can say at this point, is that they've got a history of being involved in those things. But back to what we were talking about with Putin and his plans. This is Moldova. He expected to roll through Ukraine. He expected to roll through Moldova. Same plan. Oh, these are our people, just like Hitler said about the Sudetenland. These are our people, and they're in danger. We're just reunifying. But he didn't intend to stop with Moldova either. Look at the map, folks. Look at the map. Belarus, he's already got a puppet state in Belarus. You know, we've got brave people up in Finland, Sweden, and Norway up there that have, you know, given them the middle finger. So has Estonia, Latvia, and the Baltic states have all said, screw you, man. But the Russians own this little sliver right here. This is Russian territory right here, this little sliver. Putin intended in 3 days to roll through Ukraine, take this huge chunk of land back. He did not envision the resistance. Then to Moldova, then to Romania and Hungary, Bulgaria, Serbia, and look at the map here. Croatia, Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia, Montenegro, Kosovo. This was all Yugoslavia. You remember Yugoslavia? Its capital was Sarajevo here. Remember the Yugo, the little worthless little car they tried to sell here? That was his goal, folks, and he hasn't given up on it. If he wins in Ukraine, he will keep working to reconstitute the Soviet Union. He wants to make himself czar. Instead of the Communist Party running the Soviet Union, Putin's goal is to make himself the new czar of Russia and reconstitute the Russian kingdom. And much to Ukraine's credit, they said, no. ET says you can donate to medical relief for Ukraine. 100% of all donations go directly to help Ukrainian victims. Slava Ukraini. Absolutely. Absolutely. There are a lot of really great charities. Just do your research to make sure you don't end up tangled up with a grifter. But there are a lot of really great charities out there that you can support Ukraine. Folks, James Jeremio kicks off our roundtable section with, how could Putin keep moving forward when Russia is getting beaten so badly in Ukraine? James, they pushed to the outskirts of Kyiv in 2 days. In 2 days, they were on the outskirts of Kyiv, and they were beaten back. It was Alexander Syrskyi, the man who's now in charge of the Ukraine, all of the Ukrainian military. He's now the supreme commander of the Ukrainian military. It was his plan that beat Putin back. And it wasn't until Putin had to actually slug it out that we learned that the bear was fiction, that his tires were rotting off his vehicles, that the corruption was so bad within their military that they had 25-year-old tires on their military equipment, that they did no maintenance, that that they were paper tigers. They really were paper tigers, the paper bears. Nobody knew that. And Russia always relies on propaganda and bolstering themselves through propaganda. I mean, forever. I mean, still to this day, you have people on social media talking about how badass Russia is and how bad we're going to get beaten. To this day. Jamie B says, any word on the insurgents invasion in Russia? Yeah, we're actually getting some after action reports and some video back from the fighting there. The Russians have quit dropping their weapons and running away and are actually starting to put up a fight. They just don't have that large of a force. So if they move too far, they'll just be cut to pieces. This isn't going to be this group, the Siberian Brigade and the Freedom for Russia Legion, marching on Moscow. It's just not going to happen. They don't have the numbers to do it. Their goal was to move into Russia, establish a beachhead, a fortified position that the Russians could not take back, and start the dominoes falling to kill Putin's inevitability. Going into the next, this was intentionally timed for the Russian elections coming up to humiliate Putin before the Russian elections, to remind people that they don't have to be on their knees for Putin, that you can fight back. And the idea is to try to build momentum within Russia, because that's where these troops came from. They're Russians. They're not Ukrainians. They're Russians in the Freedom for Russia Legion. And they're trying very hard to fundraise. They're trying very hard to recruit. There's a lot of dissent, especially out in Siberia, that you've got different ethnic groups that are just tired of the way Russia does business. But yeah, that's what's going on. That's what's going on. That's why Macron is drawing a red line, because it's not a matter of if Putin will continue this. He's already continuing this. He's already doing the propaganda in Transnistria and in Moldova. That's why he said Odessa. That's why Macron said, if you move towards Odessa, we enter the war. Because they have to go through Odessa to get to Transnistria. Folks, think about the Republicans as we talk about this. Think about the different world, what Europe is looking at versus the bullshit games that we've got going on here. It's shameful. It's just shameful. And yes, God bless Macron for calling his bluff, Z. Thank you. But yeah, that's what I have for you today, folks. Any questions that you have? We've got a little time left to do a roundtable. We'll do another 5-10 minutes of discussion if you'd like. Any questions that you have, anything that you'd like me to expand on, please just throw it out in the comments, and I'm more than happy to sit with you and keep on keeping on. That's a great question, David. David Heisel says, do you think the Russian citizens will ever get sick of Putin's BS? We don't need them to. We don't. And don't expect them to. It's not how it works. Revolutions are not conducted by the masses. They just aren't. Never in history has it been the majority that just rises up. It's always a hardcore, small percentage that does the fighting. The rest of the country is like us. You got MAGA that sit on their butts saying horrific shit on social media that, are more than willing to suck up to Trump and, oh yeah, he hates the people I hate. Yay. But they don't really do anything. Look at January 6th. That's it. That's all they could do. That was it. People are like, oh, we got to worry about the violence on the right. Not really. Not really. And then the opposite of that is on the left. You got a lot of people very willing to be upset, very willing to join us, and join our conversations and even be supportive, On another note here, we got Jesse McKenzie says, "Hi, Texas Paul. It's my birthday today. By the way, Jon Stewart did a really good monologue on so-called GOP patriotism, voting for Biden." Yeah, he's back on track. I'm glad to see it. Thank you. And happy birthday. Everybody wish Jessica McKenzie a happy birthday. Today is her birthday. March 15th. The Ides of March. Glad you could be here. Thank you for joining us on your birthday. But yeah, think about that. Even on the left, we've got people that know the 2025 project means the end of our country. It does. It's the end of our democracy. Our kids will no longer have a democracy. If Trump wins the election, our kids will no longer have a democracy. And they're willing to vote, but that's it. I mean, that's it. Because these revolutions don't happen with the lion's share of the people. Most people are like that. They'll watch their democracy evaporate and say, well, that sucks. Got to go to work. Until eventually the government comes for them. And then they'll care. But that's just the way it works. That's the way it was in Germany. People are like, how could the German people go along with this? It's just like here. You had the radical MAGA fringe that were like, oh, yay, Hitler. And then you had the ambivalent that were like, oh, that sucks. Got to go to work. But it's that sliver of people. I don't need to get to everybody. I just need enough. And that's what they're trying to do in Russia right now. They're getting the ball rolling. And I'm pulling for them. Marco says, how about European countries? Are they stepping? Yeah, France is. Germany is not. Schultz over in Germany is very much, hey, let's just keep everybody calm and let's negotiate with Putin. On the other end, you got Macron that said, we're done negotiating. Russia has to lose. And here's the interesting thing is, the Russian propaganda and the media that they control, and they do control media in every country, came out and said 70% of French people don't support Macron in his position. Yeah, before he said what he said. But people go along. And Macron keeps telling his people, this is it. This is the way it works. This is the way it works. We are not going to allow this because it's European security. It's because we're going to be fighting a reconstituted Soviet Union if we don't fight this out now. Fight them when they're weak. That's what we're doing. Sure. Before he drew a hard line, 70% of the French people were like, man, we don't want war. I bet it would be similar here in the United States. If you took a poll, 70% of people would say, no, we don't want war. We don't want our soldiers going into war. But the minute the president acts, the people fall in line behind them. They always do. They always do. That's why the Republicans and even Marine Le Pen is like, he wants to be a wartime leader. That's why the Republicans are scared of Biden every time he does something decisive in the Middle East. He's like, he's just trying to pander. He's just trying to pander. That's all. Because people follow strength. They do. But I appreciate it. It was a great comment. Great question. Great comment. I hope I answered. I'm looking forward. Actually, the missus and I are going to go catch Randy Rainbow's show. I hear it's a great show. I'm looking forward to seeing it. William G. Atheist number 1 says, should France send troops? They cannot invoke Article 5. They would be considered an aggressor. In that situation, yeah. And that's not what this is about. That's not what France is saying. France isn't saying NATO's coming. France is saying we're coming. Trinalonga says Scandinavia is all in. That's exactly right. Thank you for sharing that. Especially Scandinavia, they have dealt with the Russians before. Their grandparents can tell them stories they've seen with their own eyes of what the Russians do and how they act. Europe's not doing this. They are just not doing this. Russia will not win in Ukraine. And it's just a shame. It is shameful what the Republicans are doing here. I mean, you have Marine Le Pen standing up and criticizing Putin. And the Republicans here can't do it. Yeah, I hear he's got a great show. Sherry, I hear he's got a great show. I'm really looking forward to it. Z, it is treason. It really is. It is betraying our people's own interest. It is. Trying to put a subservient president in the White House that will bend the knee to Putin. That's treason, man. That is treason. Oh, hey, and I wanted to say thank you. A lot of you folks are utilizing the link tree. You're utilizing PayPal. You're utilizing. It's not just donations in the chat. PayPal. You're using PayPal off our website, TexasPaul.com, RealTexasPaul.com. I appreciate it. I really do. I don't get to thank you openly like I do the donations here on YouTube, but I see them. I try to send emails back thanking everyone that donates. I appreciate you folks. I really do. I see you. I really do. And I am grateful. Old silver, exactly. Europe will stop him, but I want America on the right side of history too. Yes, because it's not just being on the right side. It's how many people have to die. Europe will stop Russia. Macron was completely unambivalent. Did I stutter? Russia cannot win. Period. That was the end of the sentence. Russia cannot win. Stop. The question is, how many people die? And it's less if we're supporting them. We have the best weapons in the world, folks. We do. We sent General Barkenfire. Folks, that's a quarter-century-old tank. And it's still the best on the battlefield. It's still the best on the battlefield. We could shorten this conflict. We could break Russia. We could break Putin. And I have to tell you, Putin's not quitting. He's not. This is yesterday. Since we've gone a little bit long, I'm going to go ahead and share this. Vitaly Robertus. Remember, I was laughing and having a good time with the drone attacks on the Lukoil refineries and just really laughing it up. Well, that didn't go over so well because, Putin's having an election and he was quite embarrassed about that. And he was very embarrassed that when the Russian government was saying the drone attacks were thwarted, that Ukraine failed, that the the president of Lukoil came out and said, yeah, I'm down to 17% refining capacity because I've got 6 refineries on fire that have been attacked, and 2 of them are still burning. So he hung himself in his office, supposedly. The last CEO before this one, not him, he's president, but the last CEO of Lukoil, he committed suicide in his basement. The recent CEO, he was washing a window and he fell out a window. He was washing his windows, he fell out his window. Now the president of Lukoil, he hung himself in his office. Folks, Putin's not quitting. He's not. It takes men like Emmanuel Macron, Joe Biden standing up saying this is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And you have Republicans on the other side pulling for Putin. Victor H says, thank you and all the democracy defenders. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, folks. Thank you very much. But yeah, it's dangerous to embarrass Putin, especially at election time. You might get depressed and hang yourself. Victor Rutledge says, Lukoil has interests and properties across Russia, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan, the Middle East, South America, Northern and Western Africa, and Southeast Asia. Yeah, Lukoil is huge. Huge. And their executives keep dying. This last one was 54 years old. One of the wealthiest men on earth. Head of one of the largest oil companies on earth. Just got depressed and hung himself, we're supposed to believe. Yeah, Greg, it's called assisted suicide. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure he had help. AC says, yes, Trump admires that Putin can just have his opponents pushed out of a window. That's not a joke. That's really not a joke. That's the goal of the 2025 project, is to have Trump be president with absolute power. And he's a petty, belligerent little jackass. And he will murder people. He will. If the 2025 project succeeds, he will murder people. I guarantee you. Just because he admires these people so much, he's not going to have, someone like Kim Jong-un, which assassinates people with anti-aircraft artillery, upstage him. He is going to be horrific just because he's a small, weak, petty man. Well, folks, we're coming up on 11:30, and we're going to call it a day. I appreciate you being here. I really do. Peter Campbell says, perhaps for a future show, can you explain the treaty agreement we signed with Ukraine? Aren't we obligated by law to support them? We signed a mutual security agreement with Ukraine twice, and we have not lived up to either one because of the Republicans. But yeah, it's 11:30. It is Friday. We made it to another weekend, folks. We made it to another weekend. Enjoy your weekend. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm out. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.